You're welcome back. Dr. Kolade, so after Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, Cadbury, you then went back, as it were, to your first profession, teaching.
Yes.
At the Lagos Business School. Yes. And you were my teacher.
Yes, and I'm glad I didn't do you too much damage.
Thank you very much, sir, and we appreciated your service. And I followed your example, sir. After my career in banking,
absolutely,
I joined you on the faculty. So I learned from you. And I went into your broadcast without the training that you had. Again, explain to us, sir, why you could transfer all your abilities and interests and passion again into academics and build another institution. I mean, at a relatively advanced, then you must have been around 65 years or so.
Well, you're only as old as you allow yourself to get. I mean, why did I go into teaching to start with? Because I've always been interested in people and their potential. Even at that young age, because I went to my first job as education officer at the age of 22. Even there, I thought there's so much potential in people. And it was one of my passions to see how I could help people to express their potential. Now, having gone into broadcasting and then into business, I could see that a lot of the capacity that people have for achieving good things, great things, a lot of that capacity was just lying idle. And I thought, what contribution can I make now to my society, to my community, as I go forward? So that's why I am back in education, if you like. And even now, as chairman of governing council, I still do the odd classroom teaching. So,
and you taught leadership, you taught governance, you taught human resource management. If you would allow me to go a little bit into some of those things, what would you say are the most important, or some of the important principles that you would like to communicate to many more Nigerians?
Well, you know, we sometimes talk about business as if it is some sacrosanct, whatever. Look, there's no business you're doing. You must understand that there is somebody, or there are people at the end of the process who are going to derive a benefit from what you're doing. If you keep your focus on the fact that you're trying to do something for people that would make them better, then it actually guides you in how you do this work. So that, for instance, I mean, if I thought that I could go into a classroom and teach human resource management, leadership, governance, just the theory, it would be a wasted time, because people can read the literature themselves. But how can you apply these things that the theory tells you to the practicalities of your real situation? That's the role that I've tried to play.
Let me take a step back, sir, back to the June 12, 1993.
Yes.
And concerned professionals and all of the trauma that Nigeria passed through.
Yes.
Because I think that's probably my first recollection of you in the civil society space.
Yep.
And again, you were an inspiration to many of us younger people, seeing that somebody of the much, much older generation was willing to put himself on the line to go on record to lead some. But the question is, why did you do it?
Well, I believe that for as long as the Lord leaves me alive, He wants me to deal with the issues that are critical to the success of my society, of my environment. And I perceived at that time that we actually needed the authorities to know and to understand how people were feeling. And therefore, if it involved a little bit of activism, just to get the thing out there in the open, to disturb their comfort a little, to let them understand that things are not as calm as you think it is. This was what I thought I should do. And yes, I knew there were dangers.
There were dangers under Abacha.
Yes, they tear gassed us on 1 or 2 occasions. But that, that's all in the past now. And I'm here.
Yeah. And you went on to several other things, which we will talk about. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. It's still the Policy Council, and my guest is still Dr. Christopher Kolade. I want to focus on your civil society work. We've spoken about the June 12, the concerned professionals work. But then there's some institution you created along with some of your younger colleagues that has come to stand the test of time. And that's the Convention on Business Integrity.
Yes.
And its related allied group, the Intergrity organization. What was that about?
Well, I didn't start that. The way it happened was that 2 young people who thought this should happen came to the Lagos Chamber of Commerce. I was then on the council of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, and they made a presentation saying, they wanted to tackle corruption, and therefore they needed the support of corporations and so on and so forth. Patu Tommy was also a member of council at that time. And when I heard the president of the council say to these young people, we can't get involved in this, where, it is not for us and so on, I thought that was, strange. So I stood up in council and said, no, I'm sorry, I don't understand why you say that. And I certainly cannot go with that. Patu Tommy did the same. So these 2 young people, as soon
who
as
are Professor Yemi Osinbajo and Sonji Apampa,
as soon as the meeting was over, they came to me and said, is there any way we can get in touch with you? So one thing led to another, and I became chairman of the Convention on Business Integrity. And the reasoning behind that, really, is that when you notice that there is an unwholesome trend that is taking place, the best way to try and stop it is to create another trend that goes in the opposite direction. And so this whole business of integrity, and on the day that we launched the Convention on Business Integrity, I stood up and said, here we are openly launching a Convention on Business Integrity. We're going to fight corruption. Now, I dare those people who are practicing corruption to launch their own convention and say that they are going to champion corruption, because what we're going to do is to attack them. And, it has stood the test of time, because actually what we suspected and then confirmed was that most people in business want to do good business, honest business. But when they fall into a situation where corruption seems to be the dominant culture, they go along with it. But if they think there's a possibility that they could stay clean and still be respectable and successful, they'll take the opportunity. So that's what Convention on Business Integrity is all about.
And in the years that organization has been in place, I know that several major organizations are now signatories.
Oh, absolutely.
And by that, they undertake to abide by those principles.
Yes.
At the
beginning, we had to go to the initial group to say, this is what we're trying to do. Why don't you join us? But the good news now is that we're sitting somewhere and a corporation writes to us and says, we would like to be members of CBI. What are the conditions? And so we put it out. And let's say 2 out of every 3 will meet the conditions at the beginning. But there's always a third one that we say, well, look, go back and take care of this, that, and the other. Then come back and see if we'll admit you.
I want to make this explicit for the benefit, particularly of the younger people.
Yes.
What role has faith played in your ability to define yourself by the principles that you have lived by?
Well, I was lucky that I was born into a family where faith was very strong. But even so, at a certain point, you have to appropriate it for yourself. And the truth, the reality of human life is that we cannot manage ourselves by ourselves. I don't have the last word on my life because I have no idea when this life is going to end. I had no idea how it started. I don't know when it's going to end. So that means that there is someone outside of myself, bigger than myself, with greater authority, who actually has a hand in how I do the things I do. Now, if I face that reality, it seems to me then that if there's some way of listening to that person, finding out how he wants me to go, or just taking a cue from what he leads me into, I may have a better way of managing my life than if I thought that I'm the authority. That's why I laugh when people talk about power and this and so on. We have no power. Because even this power that you think you have could leave you tomorrow, or you could leave it, and that would be the end of it.
Yes.
So that has helped me always to situate myself in the position really of, if you like, a steward of God's resources. He has created all the things he has created, and somehow he has given me the opportunity of managing some of those resources. Okay, so I'll do it to the best of my ability, but hopefully to satisfy
his principles.
Yes.
Excellent. Let's take another time out. We're learning a lot today, and there's still a lot more to learn. I'll be right back.
Government wants our city to become a mega modern city. And so, government is providing modern markets for us to carry out our business. Now, this requires money. So, we need to pay our taxes to help government to help us. I pay my taxes. I hope you've paid yours. I pay. Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back, and we're still talking with Dr. Christopher Kolade, who later became an ambassador to UK. But before I go into that, sir, I know that I've heard you refer to General Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo, as your friend. Yeah. Tell me about him as a friend.
Well, the first thing that you should understand is that I don't make friendships based on anything except a commonality of values and something we can share. It doesn't mean that we agree on everything, but it means that anything we interact upon, I am able to say with confidence that the way he tells it to me is the way he feels it. And I think he can say the same about me. And we became friends not because we went looking for each other, but it was just chance meeting. And what I have discovered, which I must say publicly, is that I do not know of any other Nigerian who has a stronger passion for this country than Obasanjo does. And for me, feeling the way I feel about Nigeria, for me that is just, I'm at home with him. And so...
When would you say you became very close to him?
Well, we first met in 1969.
Wow.
So it's a long time ago. But our closeness just evolved over time. Because, you know, if you have a discussion with someone and you have what amounts to a hot argument, but at the end of it, you feel some respect for this person. It tells you that there is a platform there that you can share. So over the years, when I was Director General, for instance, and then he succeeded Murtala Mohammed as head of state, we were friends, but we were able to say, look, today this is an official matter. And there were times when he wanted me to do something and I wouldn't yield ground. And I would say to him, if you're really serious about that, maybe you should find yourself another Director General. So we've had passages like that. And I'm glad to say that it has not just survived, it has actually flowered. And it's one of the relationships that I cherish most now.
And he made you, he put you in charge of this committee that evaluated all the contracts awarded maybe just before he took over.
Yes.
And that was a very difficult job in the context of 1999.
It was a difficult job, but I think that the thing that helped both of us was that he felt he could trust me and that I wouldn't come to him with something that I did that I couldn't defend. And I felt that if I went to him with a recommendation and he was not able to carry it out for other reasons, he would let me know and he would go on. So on one occasion I went to him with a recommendation and 2 days later he called me and said, I don't think I can do that.
And then that led to your semi-final, as it were, career. I mean, well, it's too early to say what is semi-final,
Who knows?
but your penultimate career in diplomacy.
Yes, and he called me one night and said, I want you to go to London. I said, what's happening in London? And he said, as High Commissioner. And at first, my instinct was to say no, because I was actually, it was a month before my 69th birthday. Wow. But as with everything else, I prayed about it, and the Lord said go, so I went. And I think, on the whole, it was a good experience, both for me and for those upon whom I was inflicted at the time. So,
one of the experiences I would like you to share from that era, sir, is these issues around how we got the debt forgiveness and all of that. You must have seen that from the inside.
I saw it from the inside, but I must say to you that in all the negotiations, the principal factor that led to that 60% forgiveness was the way that Obasanjo handled himself. I was privy to 2 or 3 occasions when he was negotiating this. But I remember one in particular where he was on the phone to the president of France for about 1.5 hours. I know it because they were using my phone from London. But the way he handled the situation, the authority that he had, the sincerity that came through from his own discussion, and which turned the hostility of that group to something close to, all right, we'll see how you handle it. It was a great achievement in my view. And I think sometimes we don't appreciate how much the personality and the personal behavior of the leader does to give confidence to other leaders and to think, okay, we can deal with this one.
In your view, it comes across, you probably believe Nigeria does not sufficiently appreciate President Obasanjo.
Oh, I'm confident of that. You see, unfortunately, when you get into a leadership position, it's an isolated position. You're on your own. And it doesn't matter how you do it. There will be interests that feel they're not being served. You know what the Yoruba people say. You cannot, there's no way you can walk that your head will not shake. So it's, and I think also that we sometimes forget that even a head of state, even a governor, is a human being.
He's a human being.
And he will have those aspects of him that may not be attractive to you. Therefore, you've got to take this person as a total package and say, now, what is he achieving? what is the result of his stewardship. And for me, for Obasanjo, that was so eminently positive that I'm prepared to say, since I cannot make a human being, I'll take this one that God made and appreciate what he's achieving.
Let's take a final time out with Dr. Christopher Kolade, CON, former ambassador, former public servant, former CEO, teacher, and governing council chairman. We'll be right back. You're welcome to the last segment of my fantastic conversation with Dr. Christopher Kolade. And sir, let me turn to, well, the last public role that you performed, which was chairman of SureP, the subsidy, the investment and empowerment program. It looked like, on the face of it from outside, it looked like a good idea. But you chose to leave at some point.
Yes.
What's your assessment of that program, and why did you choose to leave?
First, I think everybody needs to understand that when I accepted to go to SureP, I was actually 79 years old. Therefore, I knew from the beginning that I was not going to do this for a long time. So, but I thought it would be a good thing to start it properly, show what he was capable of doing. Also, if possible, groom somebody to take over from me and then leave it. This was my original plan. Because when the president asked me to do it, he said something to me. He said, look, we're going to put this money together from the withdrawal of subsidy. And if we were to just put it in the treasury and try to manage it, people will not believe us. He was telling me that government did not have that level of credibility. And therefore, he said, we need someone that will be believed when he says, this is what we are doing with this money. We would like you to do it. Now, I said, I didn't give myself this reputation. And if Nigeria would find this reputation useful now, there's nothing else I'm doing with it, so I accepted to do it. If you can use that money for certain identifiable projects in a dedicated way and in a way that was transparent, for me, that's what we tried to do in the 2 years that I was in SureP. We identified the projects, we put the money behind, and we changed the method of payment to contractors. That was the principal thing that we said, this is what is causing this lack of credibility. Because contractors do work, and for months, for years, they don't get paid. Here, if you do this work, we check it, we say it's okay. Within 2 weeks of our saying so, you'll get paid. And I think that's what SureP is doing. Even up till now, I don't think my departure from that place has changed that philosophy.
Fundamental philosophy.
And I believe that what we as Nigerians ought to be doing is saying, right, this is what you say you're going to do. Let's see you do it. Let's monitor it. And if you want to check what SureP is doing at any time, go to their website. The information is there.
One of the, maybe I should ask, the gentleman who took over from you was your vice
General
deputy,
yes, was my
general.
deputy general.
You think the fund is in good hands?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, I proposed his name to the president, so there's no doubt in my mind that he is eminently fit to do it.
Now, let me talk about what I've also learned, a new thing that you're doing, probably what you propose to be a legacy forever, the Christopher Kolade Foundation.
Yes. Again, you see, the thing that went through my mind when I was leaving Cadbury and I saw what was going to be my gratuity, because I had been in Cadbury 24 years. So it's not
It wasn't just,
So when I saw what my gratuity was going to be, I thought, if I took this money away and tried to spend it, I'll probably just do some crazy things. So why don't I use this money in a way that I think it can do some good? This was how the idea of the foundation came to be. So I invested my gratuity in that and identified that I wanted to help people with projects in education and also in religion. Religion, because I think sometimes we misunderstand what it's all about. Religion is not a thing. It's your relationship with Almighty God. And in that relationship, God tells you what He wants to see done, and you do it. If you're willing to do that, I'm willing to support. So that's the concept of the foundation.
And what are the plans, the short term?
Well, what we've done, mostly we started with supporting the sickle cell research work at the University of Ibadan. And then we've done some installations of internet facilities in 4 or 5 universities around the country. So it's not limited to one place. We are participating in capacity building in certain church organizations. And now I've backed away from there. It's being managed by a board of trustees. Okay. So I suppose I should even shut my mouth because they are the ones that decide what they want to do with the foundation. Yes.
One of the things I know is coming up shortly, and this is by the Convention of Business Integrity, is the second Christopher Kolade lecture. I'm sure you'll be at that event.
Oh, yes, I intend to be there. And the idea is let us continue to share ideas on the things that will lead us to positive achievement. If you get somebody who wants to tell us what integrity really means and why integrity is the way to go, then let him come and tell us. Let's ask him questions. Let's discuss it. Because if out of that, if there are 200 people listening and you manage to change 10 or 20, you've done a big job.
Thank you very much, sir, for your service to Nigeria.
Thank you.
And to humanity. We'll be right back. I'm sure you'll agree with me that those were 2 of the most important editions of this program since its inception. Dr. Kolade's life has been an example to several generations of Nigerians. He has had multiple careers, excelling in all of them, impacting on society and individuals, including this presenter. He has been relevant to society from his 20s, and even in his 80s, he continues to work hard to leave a lasting legacy for society. Like I said, his life is an example. His life is an example for those of us in civil society, for those in leadership positions, and for those of us who are following behind. I hope we learn the right lessons of integrity, of service, of putting your legacy before your self-aggrandizement, and of contribution to society. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.